Hidden Object Guru here with a quick announcement. Lazy Writer is working on some new videos about the Quarry and the Devil in Me that will be premiering soon. But while we're waiting, I'd like to remind everyone to check out the Butterfly Effect podcast. If you're not already listening, they're doing a great job of covering Supermassive's delightful output of choice-based games. In this video, I'm going to play their in-depth look at the Quarry's Prologue, the first part of their series breaking down the game in great detail. If you like what you hear and want to check out the rest of the series, head on over to the Butterfly Effect channel and subscribe. I've put a link in the description box below the video. I've been the Hidden Object Guru. I'll see you back here for more things. But for now, take it away, the Butterfly Effect podcast.
Hello, friends and fans, and welcome to our first analysis video of The Quarry. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yes, we are starting off with the prologue, of course. I've played it, but a certain someone hasn't. So, Liam, I'm going to throw it back over to you.
Yeah, how's it going, guys? I feel pumped that we're finally talking about The Quarry. We've been looking forward to this for months now, and it's finally here. Well, it is for Jack, not for me. So essentially, I pre-ordered it ages ago. I've been good to go for a while, but I had to work today. My game hasn't fully installed. I thought it was going to, but it hasn't. It's currently on 67%. I'll be able to play it in 36 minutes. But while I'm waiting, I'm just an absolute sitting duck here. But we thought we'd do this episode because I've seen the prologue. I saw IGN's release of the prologue back on the 5th of April, over a month ago now. So I've had that in my mind. And Jack's just finished the prologue, so we thought we'd talk about the prologue anyway. I don't know what my choices are gonna be, but I reckon they're gonna not be too dissimilar to what the IGN player chose anyway. So yeah, I mean, I'll throw it back to you, Jack. What did you think of the prologue?
I did like it, I've got to say. Might be a controversial view, but I don't know. Very strong cinematic vibes with the way the credits were coming up on the screen. I know that with Until Dawn you had like a sort of a music video sequence, didn't you, where all the names were popping up, whereas in this it was just sort of you was watching the car go through the woods and the music. And this is one thing I'm going to touch on. I really like the music choice and the score in this game so far. And by the way, I'm convinced, was that Ariana Grande? It sounded like Ariana Grande that was singing the opening. That's what I thought anyway. I don't know about you.
I mean, I don't remember it. Obviously it was a few weeks since I've seen a prologue thing, but I don't know.
Honestly, when you play it, you'll hear it and you'll think, fuck yeah, it does actually sound like it quite a bit.
Then again, I'm such a boomer that I don't really know who Ariana Grande is. She's a singer, I know that, but I don't know what she sings, so...
Oh, right, fair enough. So yeah, let's get straight into it. And it's felt like, we're going into details. The first thing I was noticing was like the little videotape, like the save icon. And I was thinking, does that tie into anything? Because they have gone for a very retro vibe, like even certain things on the menu as well. When you look at like the paths tab, you click on each individual one, it's like it's contained within a videotape. I was thinking, I don't know if that perhaps ties into the plot somehow. But another addition, and it's so strange that they've done this, because you know that TV show that I told you about, mate, Inside Number 9?
Yeah.
They did this whole episode based on public information films. Now, I don't know if you've heard of these before or even seen any, but apparently back in like the 70s and 80s, these things were rife, and they're basically like little child sketches where they sort of teach you basic lessons, don't put anything electric in water, don't play with fire, like basic things like that when you're growing up. And they've done a similar thing here on this game, but they've obviously framed it in a way like, certain choices are good, certain choices are bad, but it's got like this little cartoon in the background. And I thought it was just a really nice touch, an inventive way of displaying that information to the player.
Okay, I never saw that obviously from the IGN prologue, but that sounds really interesting, one that I'm really keen to kind of check out.
Yeah, it's on the menu, but like when you make a choice or like when something pops up on the screen, it says like press LB, and you can then view it, and then it sort of like it tells you all this stuff. So really good to know. So I suppose, yeah, let's just sort of get into the basic plot, shall we? So obviously Laura and Max are in the car driving to Hackett's Quarry. And by the way, I really like all of the characters, because it's not just them two, all of the characters that feature in this prologue. I think their performances are strong. I think the writing's pretty darn good as well at the moment. And of course, you know, you have the QTE where something is in the road and you swerve and you then stop. And then for me anyway, I then got out and then looked around the back in the boot, and it gives you the option to snoop, whether you want to snoop at the letter. Now, I chose not to snoop, but it then gave you the option to go back later on. So I did actually end up snooping and seeing like the letter with Max. Was that the same in the prologue?
Yeah, they snoop first time, and it's him not getting into college, right?
That's it, yeah. So I did actually end up seeing that in the end, and then Laura then sort of spots the ghost in the woods and she wanders off, and I actually found a tarot card at this point. It's called The Fool. When obviously you revisit that in the Eliza sequence, but yeah, she's going around the woods and she's finding stuff about this travelling sideshow, and there's sort of all these things like there's a burnt poster on a tree, and there seems to be like a wreckage of a cage of some kind. There's a thing about like Silas the dog, and obviously because we was talking about werewolves, I was like, is it a werewolf? You know, it might be a dog. Some sort of wild dog. I don't know. But yeah, like that stuff we were talking about in Bizarre Yet Bonafide podcast videos, they're really sort of starting to come to fruition here, like in terms of this little side plot.
It's funny because I was waiting for you to maybe one of those BYBs to bring up this sort of circus thing, because I saw it in the prologue back in early April, obviously, about this this sort of burnt down circus, and then you've got Silas the wolf boy on a sign, and even the ghost at one point whispers into Laura's ear like Silas. So like, yeah, just it's in the prologue, but it was nowhere else, and I was just waiting for this to come through, and then it did. And yeah, like I say, I'm really intrigued to see how this kind of bleeds into like maybe the hillbillies, the teens, like the whole lore of the quarry, like yeah, what role that has to play.
Yeah, that's it. So obviously moving on, we then go back to the car as Laura, and obviously something spooks her. I think it's what you just said actually, where like the sort of the Silas thing gets whispered in her ear, and her and Max go back in the car, and the car it won't move anywhere. And then we're introduced to Ted Raimi's character Travis, and you have like a little bit of a chin wag with him in the middle of the night in a woods. And the first thing I noticed is that he had a bit of blood on his neck. To be fair, the characters do actually like acknowledge this later on, but I thought, has he got blood on his neck there? So I've clocked that. And I think, this is what I've got written down here, is that I was honest with him twice, and then I was friendly with him. And then there was a choice where, I can't remember what it was. He asked, it was something about the Harbinger's Motel or Hackett's Quarry. At this point, I was thinking, are they going to give you the choice to go to the motel or go to the quarry? But, I was insistent with him. I thought, no, like, you're sort of pushing boundaries now. Like, we want to go to Hackett's Quarry. Why are you being so forceful about it? And anyway, he then goes back to his car, and you then drive off. So in that little sequence there, mate, was it the same thing? Because I know this whole bit as well where you get out of the car and you look at the map and he crosses the two things off, and that was it for me. I then just got back in the car and that was pretty much it. So what happened in your version?
Yeah, so we had a little bit of a conversation beforehand, and it was really interesting to see, because when I sort of mentioned to you, oh yeah, what did you do when the cop tries to chloroform you? And you just looked at me like, oh, what the fuck are you on about? And from what I gather, now, obviously I've not played it, I've seen the prologue, and you've told me sort of how yours kind of went down. Now, he can get like a napkin and he puts it towards your face, and Laura, who you play as, has the option to evade it. So, firstly, I just want to say, I wonder what happens if you don't evade it. What happens if you get chloroformed? Does the prologue play out completely differently? Do different people die? Do different people survive? You know, I'm just like so intrigued to see how varied this whole prologue can be. If you look at Until Dawn's one, it's actually quite linear. You'll always get like the same outcomes. Maybe the Quarry ones can have different prologues, and I'm just really intrigued by that. But yeah, essentially from what I gather, now I could be wrong, now correct me in the comments if I am wrong, because Jack and I are obviously new to the game, we've only sort of seen the prologue, is that Jack's never lied, he's been really friendly with the cop, and essentially what I gather from that is that you get away unscathed. If you lie, at least once, the cop potentially slightly mistrusts you, then he does this, perhaps to get you away from the quarry or the summer camp, because he knows you're going to end up there. But yeah, he obviously really wants you to stay away from, you know, the summer camp, and he'll get you to go to the motel no matter what. So obviously in your playthrough, you probably got away to the summer camp anyway. But yeah, no, it's just very interesting to see how varied that prologue can be.
That's it, because if it is chloroform, then presumably you never make it to the quarry. So you wouldn't then have that whole sequence. So it is interesting. Obviously, this is a first playthrough, so like it's arguably the best playthrough because you don't know what's going down per se with like each and every choice. But yeah, I got away. I ended up turning up to Hackett's quarry. You saw Chris's car was there, and I was thinking something popped into my mind, which I'll go into in a minute. So obviously, you get to the front door of the quarry, and you have like this sort of little balcony that you could wander around. And I don't know about you, mate, but when I first start playing these games, the first thing I do is I tend to go on the settings to sort out the subtitles and the brightness. And I'd already done that, but got to this bit, I know it's like a dark woods and it's night time and everything. I was trying to wander around the corners of like the balconies just to see if there's any clues or anything to find. It was literally pitch black, even with like sort of moving the phone around. It was really difficult to see, so I hope I haven't missed anything there. But obviously, yeah, then the sequence plays out that you go down to the basement. Now, I personally picked the wrench to open the basement, and by default, I don't know if that means that Max is holding on to the hammer. But we then go down, hear a couple of noises, and you see like the carcass of a dead animal. And then you see a collar with the name Ian on it, which I thought was a bit random.
Yeah.
And then of course Max gets attacked. So does that sort of run parallel with everything you've seen so far?
Yeah, pretty much. I think the prologue used the wrench as well. It'll be interesting to see if there is a difference there, depending on which, weapon you use to break into the basement. Yeah. So at the end, when Max was sort of scathed and he was on the floor bleeding out, did you leave him or did you try and save him?
Did try and save him. I've gone very much into this with a mindset of, you know what, I'm going to be a good boy where possible. If something is a little bit fishy, I'll pick the more dangerous option, if you will. Yeah, I went to save him, and then I was dragging him up the stairs, and I don't know if something grabbed him, but he just randomly got pulled away. And then the next thing you know, Travis returns, and he's sticking a needle into Laura's neck. And then he fires a gun down into a cellar or basement. So I don't think that's him shooting Max, to be honest. I think that's a potential red herring, and obviously you don't see a dead body, which is, first rule of horror. So my impression is that Max is still alive. Maybe he's just sort of captured somewhere. Then yeah, I mean that sort of wraps up the prologue. But to revisit the point about the fact that Chris's car was there, and Travis, he's so insistent that you don't go to Hackett's quarry, like he knows something. And because I know your good self, you've said before about Chris maybe being the werewolf, and all these things just started circulating around my head, and I was thinking, yeah, I've got a funny feeling that David Arquette is gonna be the wolf in this game. So yeah, that's where I'm sat. Semi impressed with my prediction. The fact that like Travis comes into it and stuff. Who knows? Maybe one of them can die at that point. If you leave Max. I don't know if Travis would necessarily help Laura. I do have a feeling that plays out no matter what. In terms of the needle. But all in all, I thought it was a solid opening to the game, mate.
Yeah, I think so. In the prologue, they tried to save Max as well. Like you say, gets dragged away. I have a feeling I'm still going to make that choice though, because I have a feeling a Chris and Ashley situation might happen where Max might come back and remember what I've done. So I'm going to go and save Max. But yeah, it's interesting because, like you mentioned, you see Chris's car there, and it's clearly him. The theory is that Travis shoots inside the cellar, not to kill the wolf, but to scare it away as warning shots. Yeah. The moment in the previous videos and the Insta stories, you see that picture of Jacob looking at pictures on the wall, and there's one of the cop, two kids hanging out, brothers or friends perhaps. One is clearly a younger Ted Raimi. One is clearly Travis when he's younger. And if you look at his badge, it says T. Hackett. So I guess he's Travis Hackett, and I'm guessing his brother is Chris Hackett. And clearly his brother is a wolf, because when Laura looks through, the basement hole, there's a man running on the full moon who's clearly about to turn into a wolf. And then also, the other point is the fact that they said, oh yeah, we're going to go there a day early. The counsellor hasn't said we can come, but we're sure it'll be fine. Something along those lines. I can't remember the exact dialogue. It's a while since I've seen it. But all the signs point to that Travis is the brother of the wolf and he's protecting him. So that's my early theory. It could be wrong, but it's one that I've built, since I saw the prologue and all those other teasers have come out. So I honestly do think we are onto something. But yeah, any additional theories there, mate?
I don't think so, no. I'm trying to think what else there is to say, really.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a point. If I just want to mention briefly about the quality of these characters, which we've not really touched on. We've got, obviously, Travis, Laura, and Max in the prologue. You could argue Chris as well, potentially, but we're not going to go into him since we see, just a naked man running and, a quick wolf attack.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just want to bring up the fact that not only does this game look amazing with the facial expressions, from Travis when he's looking at the car and he does that little side eye, from, Laura kind of evading him with the napkin or whatever it is. But yeah, these characters are really well drawn out, and no disrespect to Until Dawn, but we've got Beth and Hannah at the start. Now I know these characters die, but you could argue they have one dimension, Beth being overprotective sister, and Hannah being, love-struck girl who gets humiliated kind of thing. So, they just have that. But you look at Max and Laura, and they've got a lot of dimensions, they're witty, they're funny, they snap at each other at one point, which I quite like, but they clearly care for each other. There's a lot of back and forth humour. Max is clearly the slacker, Laura who's clearly well driven. I really like this ensemble cast, and it's just such a strong way to kick the whole game off. And I'm really hoping the other counsellors, which I'm yet to meet personally, I'm really hoping they burst of levels the same way these two from the prologue have, for sure. Because if, we compare Hannah and Beth to the other Until Dawn characters, if it's going to be the same for Laura and Max, then I'm really excited to see what's in store with the rest of the cast, mate.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, one last thing that I'd touch on, obviously I'm playing this on Xbox One. And I've got to say, the game looks gorgeous. So I don't know what it would look like on Xbox Series X or the other platforms, but it looks very strong. It looks, you know, sort of like Until Dawn levels, if not a bit better. And I think that even the facial animations have improved from what I've seen so far as well. So yeah, a really positive outlook after playing this prologue. I'm looking forward to cracking on with the rest of the game.
Yeah, it should be good. So obviously, most of us have seen the prologue from when IGN threw it. But if this is your first time playing the prologue, or if you've got any theories going forwards and you haven't played the whole game yet, honestly, drop them in the comments. Let us know. Tell us what your choices were, what you were thinking at this point. And yeah, you know, this is Wednesday today. Next video is coming out on Saturday. So yeah, join us then where we're going to do our deep dive analysis of the first chapter.
Yeah, alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video and you're enjoying the quarry, and we shall see you on the next one.
Alright, bye guys.